What's up, people?
You can be heard. Gerima's in the house. Hi, Gerima. Hi, Selma.
Hey, what's up, people? Welcome to TSI once again. We got people from all over the world. So together we are one and we have the same thing in common. And guess what that is? The heartbeat. Because the heartbeat is inside of us. We're born with it. So, I'm going to play a little bit more. Ah, you know? Uh-huh. So I hope you enjoyed TSI. I hope you enjoyed the flavor and all the vibes. Welcome once again from the G-Man, Gerima here, speaking. Please.
So welcome one and all. Welcome back. Gerima, I know you're here. Do you want to just wave at us, say hi?
Yes, I.
All right.
The lion is here. What's up, everybody of TSI? How are y'all doing?
We're all doing really well. And thank you always, Gerima, and also your mom, who has been, is a videographer and a photographer of considerable excellence, but that's how we get to see the best of you. So thank the two of you. We want to do a couple things just as we're starting out. You may have already guessed that these things don't just fall out of the sky. They take a lot of work and they take teamwork. So want to begin by acknowledging our team today. Obviously, you've just met Gerima, and hiding just beside him, you've met Selma Fletcher, but also Dave Hasbury, who has been masterminding the tech stuff and doing some amazing work on videography, and Patti Scott, and John O'Brien, and Beth Mount, and Cathy Hollands, and down south, Chris Curley, and people you'll encounter later today, Kirk Hinkleman and Blair Groves. So we're a team, and it takes all of us to put this together. So thank you. We're also a very international group. I think we've got around 100 people on the call, which is lovely. And we're coming from the corners of the earth. So we've got New Zealanders and Aussies and Scots and English, Germans, the Netherlands, Canada, USA, and who knows beyond that. But anyway, we've got people from most everywhere. And the next little bit, we have a tradition, and what we're trying to do in starting the virtual TSI is to pick up many of the traditions we've had when we were able to meet live. And so one of them is that we have been privileged to have Gerard Segassige, who has done welcomes for us and with us. And he's doing that again today, which is really quite wonderful. He has asked us to pay special attention to water and fire. So we have an image. We made a little video just of a little bit of water and a candle, which are ways of acknowledging our very, very deep roots that we all share. And Gerard will talk about that in a moment. So Gerard Segassige is an elder, a wisdom keeper, and Nietzschean, a friend. Over to you, Gerard.
But one of the things I ask people when we do virtual openings of any kind is we should have a little bit of water and a candle. I would really encourage that to all our family. Everybody has a fire, and the way I look at it, that is that everybody needs water as a resource. And I think on virtual Zoom learnings and sharings, I think we got to prioritize how important water is and how important fire is. The one thing that'll connect us is the water, because we've all come through water. Yep. And the one thing that'll connect us is the warmth of a flame, because everybody on earth has that warmth, and everybody on earth has that flame, whether it's a sacred fire or whether it's candle. Virtually everybody has a connection to the earth, but sometimes we've misplaced prioritization. So regardless if we're in Asia or Australia or America, there's the one thing that connects us all, and that's water, because the spirit water flows through all those lands to connect us as one. So when you think about in those lines of, it's like this shaker I have. It's birch bark, cedar, and there's poplar. So when you think about it, and you just sing a song, and it goes, it's checking into Shkikimakwe, or what my grandmother used to say is Bajungajikwe, is that first mother for all of us. And you always hear me say that there isn't a right or wrong land acknowledgement, because I think treaties and occupation of land and taxes, property taxes, municipality taxes, I think it deprives us away from the beginnings of who we're meant to be spiritually. Like when you look at all the people in circle today, that we get burnt out by systematic behaviors. But you always hear me be very critical is that the first thing that we can ever give anybody is identity to spirit. And that doesn't mean to be a dominant, but it means to give identity to it. How important placing that water is, and how important putting that flame, that candle out to everybody that's virtually with you and Lynda and the crew. That's a very strengthening commonality for everybody. Well,
good morning, everybody. My name is Kirk Hinkleman. I'm calling from San Diego, and I'm going to help guide us in a grounding practice through a bit of a guided meditation. So if you're willing to find yourself in a very rooted position in your chair, as upright and dignified a posture as possible, hands flat in your lap or wherever they may rest comfortably, feet flat on the floor or wherever they may rest comfortably. Closing our eyes together. Let's first breathe together. One big inhale through our noses deeply, holding for a brief moment at the top of breath, and exhaling out all of the air out of our lungs. From here on out, find your particular rhythm with your breath. Welcome to today's virtual Toronto Summer Institute gathering. Our breath provides for us an anchor, something we can always come back to. No matter the chaos, no matter the internal chatter, remember your anchor and breathe. Last month, John O'Brien shared a poem by William Stafford titled "The Thread." Today, we continue to hold on to that thread, weaving in new threads in the form of conversations. Conversations held by a practice called World Cafe. Juanita Brown, co-creator and co-curator of World Cafe and the greater World Cafe community, shares with us, living networks of conversation lie at the heart of our capacity as a human community to create the futures we want, rather than being forced to live with the futures we get. This thread of creating futures we want to emerge is one we have held for quite some time. But sometimes we lose our grip of the thread. Slippery and delicate, the thread of hope. Through conversations, open, vulnerable, and honest, we tighten our grip to the thread, feeling more secure. We discover invitations to ponder questions. Questions providing the kindling needed to stoke our inner fires of energy and vision. What is most alive for you? What has nourished this aliveness? What is calling you? Perhaps these invitations help us to discover, or to continue to hold on to, what Terry Chapman refers to as our golden thread of purpose. We would be remiss if we didn't today address that we are all living a shared experience through a global pandemic. Fear, sorrow, terror, doubt, feelings and emotions that can take over if we are not mindful and intentional about holding on to the thread. At the outset of this dark time, Sonia Renee Taylor shared this message. We will not go back to normal. Normal never was. Our pre-corona existence was not normal, other than we normalized greed, inequity, exhaustion, depletion, extraction, disconnection, confusion, rage, hoarding, hate, and lack. We should not long to return, my friends. We are being given an opportunity to stitch a new garment, one that fits all of humanity and nature. Remember, in the darkness, there is always a way to find light. So let us hold on to our threads, and through conversations, weaving our threads together, we move ever closer to our future. A future co-designed and co-created on a foundation of hope and love. Always remembering these words from James Taylor. Recognize that there are ties between us, all men and women living on the earth. Ties of hope and love, sister and brotherhood. That we are bound together with a desire to see the world become a place in which our children can grow free and strong. Okay, when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Kirk. We are living in such tumultuous times, and I want to ask you, Dave, just to let us sit again and look at Sonia Renee Taylor's quote, if you would. She speaks to the times we are in, and we think that this is a time, as has been touched upon so far, to connect with our spirit, find what keeps us alive, and hold on to our thread. And we believe, as Margaret Wheatley has framed, that conversation is the way we humans think together. And keeping that in mind, one of the art of hosting practices that we have taken up at the Toronto Summer Institute and want to try here for the first time virtually is the practice of a World Cafe. Oh, thanks, Dave, for that. Just kind of, that can be there a bit. And we'll post, before we close today, we'll post links to where you can learn more about the practice of the World Cafe. And Kirk, you quoted Juanita Brown, who together with David Isaacs were co-creators of this World Cafe practice. And again, we'll share with you the link. And today we'll engage in 3 rounds of this practice. So we'll be in small breakout groups, and we'd like to share with you the etiquette for a World Cafe, and share with you that the good folks who've been part of the World Cafe practice began about 4 years ago, actually holding virtual cafes. And this, just a week ago, was 4 years of their virtual practice and their establishment of a community table for the World Cafe. And these are the guidelines for a World Cafe. Dave is going to share them, and if you can put up the first cluster, that would be great. We'll have all of the pieces that we've shared will be something that you'll be able to find on the Inclusion Press website. And the etiquette of a World Cafe is really to, in each of the small group sessions you're in, is to contribute your thinking and make space to hear the thoughts and contributions of other people. Focus on what really matters to you and speak your heart and your mind. And in this process, you're facilitating one another as well as yourself. And that's an important part of the practice. And we'll add the next pieces of etiquette. You need to be able to slow down to think and listen together for patterns and insights and the deeper connections that come between us, and to open your mind and your heart to be able to listen into the conversation, to listen to understand, and to be able to link and connect ideas that come up that you've heard yourself say and that you're hearing other people say. We've invited folks to have along with them a blank sheet of paper or a journal and some markers so that you can take notes in every conversation you're in and doodle and draw and keep track of key ideas. And it's really important to be able to have fun with the conversation as you immerse yourself in it. And Margaret Lee, one of my favorite Margaret Wheatley quotes has to do with just slowing down so we have time to reflect. And that's the space that we're in. Appreciating that, again, conversation is the way that we humans think together, and that really the quality of the conversations that we'll have today are going to have everything to do with the quality of our listening. And in the recent World Cafe conversation online, I was introduced for the first time to the idea not only of World Cafe etiquette, but World Cafe netiquette. So netiquette has to do with the idea of what we want to make sure we include in our practices when we're virtually in a space with one another. And we loved the idea and wanted to bring into the practice today the idea that people take up a talking stick. That's right, there is a cowboy boot on my desk. So you'll pick up from the space you're in when it's your turn to speak. Please take up the talking stick and say, I'm taking the talking stick from the center, and when you're complete in your thought, put down the talking stick and say you're putting the talking stick into the center. And in that way, we want to make sure that we make space in every one of the small group conversations for everyone to have time to just have an opportunity to think and contribute. Each of the rounds of the World Cafe today will hold a question for people in the small group to consider. And there'll be 5 people in a group. You might find yourself with 4, maybe 6. For folks who are able to turn on when you get into the breakout session, we want to invite you to unmute yourself. Remember to turn on your video if you can. If you don't have video to turn on today, just be sure to let your group know that that you're there and can hear them. And folks, if you've got somebody who's not on video, just let them know that you can see that they're there. Folks will introduce themselves, say their name, and offer their contribution. And we encourage you to just make sure that everyone has time to speak in the group. And just given the times we're in and thinking about our thread and purpose, we really want to invite people for the first round to think about the question about what's most alive for you now. So just thinking about what's happening inside you and in your inner space and what you care most about. Speak to what's most alive for you now when you connect with people in the small group. And I want to see, Dave, if there's anything else that you want to say to people as we transport them. I'll just add, we want you to just think about that question. What is most alive for you now? And think about that as we're being transported. You'll have an opportunity to either find you are automatically transported or you'll click on join the breakout group. Anything you want to add, Mr. Hasbury?
No, I'm ready to hit the button.
What is most alive for you now? Thanks, Jess. All right, Dave, take us away. We've got 20 minutes. Thanks, everybody.
Great. Welcome back. I hope everybody had a good conversation and really had a chance to explore what is most alive for them right now. We're going to take a look at a second question, and in the tradition of cafe conversations, you will randomly wind up with a new group of people to chat with and to get to know. And our second question is, you explored what's alive for you right now during this time, and which is, undoubtedly a really challenging time for all of us with so many things going on. What we want to ask people to think about and share about is, what is it that's nourishing this aliveness in you? What is it that helps you continue to feel the aliveness, helps you continue to carry on? What are the things that are nourishing it? So again, there'll be 20 minutes, and in just a second, you'll be breaking off into your breakout groups, and enjoy the conversations and enjoy the new people you'll get to have them with. And we will post the question, we'll broadcast it in the breakout groups as well. So what is nourishing this aliveness in you?
So we'll have 20 minutes for this conversation, and I want to invite you to remember to doodle and draw and love the ones you're with, as the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young used to say, and we'll see you in 20 minutes.
Okay, great. And as we gather back, if you haven't had a pen and paper near you, if you would just, or maybe you have, but maybe turn it over and have a little fresh space. This third question will lead you into this third conversation with the group with just a little bit of quiet, a little bit of silence to gather your thoughts before you enter in a conversation with others. And what we want to make a little time for and invite you to do is to draw or capture a symbol or an image that perhaps arises for you in relationship to this question. And so the third question is, what is calling you now? And as you listen in on these last two intimate, thoughtful, deep reflections with other people, maybe even strangers, what did you find yourself noticing that you want to strengthen? Or as we discussed in our last group, or just be bolder about, like just say, this is something I know has been lit up for me and that I want to keep strengthening and deepening. And Kirk referred to the quality of the threads of our life. Some of them are more golden than others. So how might you get a hold of, strengthen, see more clearly, amplify, and strengthen those golden threads that you know have been so life-giving and sustaining for you during this time? And so we'll take just a minute before we get into these breakout rooms to reflect on what is calling you now. And you can either just journal a bit about that, or maybe make a drawing that helps to capture what's calling you when you listen to that quiet place that says, yes, this is golden, this is now, Let's do this. So take that reflection, that drawing, that insight into the next conversation and see how it changes and grows. And when we come back on the other side of this one, we'll take a little bit of time for people who'd like to share to do so. So see what comes alive for you now. So I trust that there were many gifts given and received in that conversation and throughout our time together. And John O'Brien, in his usual brilliant way, would be harvesting and collecting some of the insights and wisdom that people have shared. And as things go, his internet is on the blink. And so I'll do a little bit of that with the help of our hosting team. And we have just a few minutes. Or wait, is John there? I just got, oh, nope, okay, just checking. So I thought maybe John had found his way on. So we'd like to just take a few minutes to invite people either in the chat to share a comment, an insight, an observation, a gift, a symbol, or a resolution, something that you feel like became clear to you and perhaps was strengthened as a result of the conversation and the time that we've had together. And if people would like to speak up, you could raise your hand. Lynda or Dave, do you all want to describe the way that people will do that in case they're not familiar with that?
I'll leave it to Lynda.
All right, Lynda is.
Folks, you may notice if you open up the participant box that you have an opportunity in that location to raise a little blue electronic hand, and we'll be able to see it and call on you and spotlight you so that you can contribute to the whole. And that can happen, as Beth, you've also invited people to contribute in the chat, their reflections.
Yes, and Patty's going to be reviewing and reading in the chat box and can bring to life some of the observations people would like to share.
Dave, if you can find Joyce and Bill and Arn, they'll contribute to the whole, and then Patty and Beth, if you'll be able to pick up and read what's being shared. Great.
Leanne is feeling grateful for the opportunity to connect, and her heart is overflowing. Judith is feeling uplifted, and she found it to be soul healing to be here. And Michael, he is feeling creativity and connection.
And Joyce, did you want to?
So I have a request of all of you who are gathered in this wonderful space to ask you to put out into the universe to find ways to really focus on moving away from the devaluation of people. So if you can find any way to throw it into the universe, how we can really work on making sure people have value, then I think our world is going to be a better world. Thank you.
So I'll read another one or two while we see who else raises their hand. From Katie, it's been an amazing afternoon. She believes that this is going to ultimately involve her, this conversation about connection within communities, leaving the small town where she has lived, which is terrifying and exhilarating. Claire feels dig deep, reach out, intentionally connect with those in our lives. Carol is appreciating the messages found in Paradox.
There's a comment from Nikki that really resonated in every single conversation I was a part of. It's the commitment to continue to live at a slower pace and be more thoughtful about what really matters. That came up in every conversation for me today, this notion of time and a symbol of time, not only the power of it, but also that it's in our hand. And if we can hold it and see it that way, we can be so much more alert to the power of time and our attention.
Steve talked about this situation allowing more focus on the small things that really matter and being a great chance to connect with the world and the world of change that we need to bring into being.
I think this may be the last, unless there's another hand up. We have just a few minutes left to summarize. And I think that there's such a theme as well in the chat box about it being such an amazing afternoon for us to just connect right across the miles, across the experience that we've had with TSI, and to both dig deeper locally. Katie is talking about that there's been a lot of conversation about the power of digging deeper locally, but then also having ways to be connected and keep learning from each other across the miles and across our cultures and all of our difference. And so maybe, is there one more from you, Patti? And then we'll turn it over to Jack. And
yes. Donna Marie said the power of presence. And one final one from Susan. I want to put my time and intentions towards peace and oneness of all.
Well, that's an excellent entree into, so how do we pick up on your theme, Joyce, of and are wanting to build a better world where there is no devaluation of anyone. And although we can't do it all, we can do some work locally. So our team is inventing, and if you can pull up the slide, Dave, that'd be great. We want to continue our new tradition, which we are inventing as we go along. And one of the traditions that we have had at the Summer Institute is we've been trying things for a long time. And now we're going to try yet another thing that's entirely new, because we're going to sort of merge the speakeasy we've been doing with the learning marketplace, or at least we're going to try and do that. And we realize we likely can't do that on Zoom as we might have, but if we focus, we might get it to work. So our idea on November 12, and you'll get an invite in due course, is that we are going to have 4 short presentations by Hope Leet-Dietmeyer on reconnecting threads, and Heather Simmons on listening to learn from people, and Agneta Njoli and Frida Ebom on the Black American Tree Project, and Patti Scott and Kim Thurston Brown on creating practices while discovering our neighborhoods. So we've got 4 core marketplace listings, and each of those will have about 5 to 7 minutes, and they're going to do a little song and dance for us, some of which may be taped and some of which will be live, and it's a prototype, so be prepared for surprises. And then we'll break into groups, and you'll get to spend some time with some of these folks. And each of them will be offering additional sessions, as yet unspecified. So you can go and have a taster, and if it appeals to you, you'll be able to work out with whoever it is, and hopefully join the ongoing future developments. Could be 1 or 2 or 3 sessions, whatever it is, but so we're trying to go deeper and also go local and go global all at once. So we're trying to build that in. So that's on November 12th, and that's our next big event. Now, in a few minutes, Gerima will be drumming us out, maintaining our tradition. We want Gerima front and center. And when we get there, we encourage you, but not yet, when we get there, we encourage you to think about picking up your metaphorical drumsticks or pound on your desk or whatever works for you, and join Gerima as we drum each other out. And when we're doing that, please unmute yourself, because that'll be just for a couple of minutes, that'll be our time to say goodbye to one another until the 12th. So that's coming after Blair Groves. Shine a Little Light was one of the mentions in Kirk's closing. And it's a song, you will know the song, but one of the alumni of the Summer Institute for many, many years is Blair Groves. And Blair's grandparents were institutionalized because they were deaf. They met in the institution in a deaf school, segregated, married, and managed to live a good life. And they taught their grandson sign. And so Blair has been many, many things, but one of the wonderful gifts he provided to us at many summer institutes was signing. So watch Blair.
Oh, let us turn our thoughts today to Martin Luther King and recognize that there are ties between us, all men and women living on the earth, ties of hope and love, sister and brother, that we are bound together in our desire to see the world become a place in which our children can grow free and strong. That we are bound together in the task that stands before us and the road that lies ahead. We are bound and we are bound. There is a feeling like the clenching of a fist. There is a hunger in the center of the chest. There is a passage through the darkness and the mist. And though the body sleeps, the heart will never rest. So shed a little light, oh Lord, shed a little light, oh Lord, so that we can see. Oh yeah. Oh Lord, shed a little light, oh Lord. Stand it on up, oh Lord. Oh Lord, stand to Martin Luther King, and recognize that there are ties between us, all men and women living on the earth, ties of hope and love, sister and brotherhood.
Hey, what's up, people? Welcome to TSI. Once again, we got people from all over the world. So together we are one, and we have the same thing in common. And guess what that is? The heartbeat, because the heartbeat is inside of us. We're born with it. So, I'm going to play a little bit more. You know? How's everybody doing? So good to see people.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, so good to see y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Hey.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Say bye.
Yeah.
It's nice meeting you.
See you.
Nice meeting everyone.
See you, Janet.
Love you all.
Thank you, Gerima.